You're listening to the Shoot Your Shot podcast with Lindsay and Tim.
We are the community-driven podcast with photographers who are just like you out in the world, planning your 2026 season, hoping and praying, manifesting that the winter will be over soon. We can start shooting and serving our couples in a way that feels right and authentic to us. Please, God. Well, Lindsay shouldn't complain. I'm sure she has other reasons to complain, but she's also in Mexico right now, which is why we're recording through the beautiful, magical, wonderful world that is Zoom. Or Zoom? No, Riverside. That's what we're using.
Riverside. If
you're new here,
hey, everybody.
Yeah, we're new here. We roll the Magic 8 Ball at the start of every episode to give us some guidance in our lives, to take the guesswork out of the questions we have that keep us up at night. Lindsay, you got anything for me?
Oh, the questions I have that keep me up at night, I don't think the 8 Ball can handle.
Okay.
But let's... That was dark.
Yeah.
Let's just ask, will the snow melt slightly by the time that I get home?
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Because currently you're in the middle of a polar vortex, I hear, allegedly.
Looks like yes. When are you coming home? Soon? Tomorrow? Today? That'd be great.
Well, don't worry about it. 1 week.
Okay.
One
Great.
week.
Okay, another week. Great.
Yeah,
Listen,
see?
we've got a fully stacked show.
Well,
You all clicked on the link. You know what this episode's all about. But to start us off, it's kind of a celebrity wedding episode, if you will. There's some high-profile people in this. I thought I'd start us off with a little clip that's unrelated to the main story, just to get
okay, let's
reaction
go.
out of you, Lindsay. You haven't seen this yet.
All of us were together, and there was a cake, a wedding cake by our section, but it was a small wedding cake. Mm-hmm. I just assumed that there was a wedding cake for each section in the back. So after a few hours, and they haven't cut their wedding cake yet. And after a few hours, Steve said he was going to leave, and I said, "Oh, wait, maybe I'd had a cocktail. I don't know." So I said, "Oh, Steve, you can't leave." I had a fork in my hand. "You can't leave yet without a piece of wedding cake." And I cut the wedding cake one side, cut it the other, and then all the people in our group screamed, "Marty!" It was the wedding cake.
So this wasn't just.
And you see, I tried to fix it with a fork. I tried.
Yeah, that's not good.
So this was bad. This was about an hour before it was to be presented.
Oh.
And so I turned to Paul Rudd and said, "So, do we just leave?" And then they called the wedding coordinator, and then the chef came out. He was like a Frank guy. "What the hell happened here?"
Yeah, really.
And then they did surgery, but it ended up being very like a Hollywood wedding cake in that it was beautiful, but now it had a little work done.
It did have some work done. And so there they are at their.
Listen, Steve was so stunned when I did that. He gained color.
And let's see how the repair job was. Yeah,
not bad.
But not great. But also not great. Now, did Selena know? Did she?
I kept saying, "Oh, guys, we can't let Selena know."
Right.
And Steve would say, "Yeah, maybe we tell her in a month or so." And then as I was leaving, Selena came by. "Hey, Marty, I heard you tried to eat my cake."
This is why you can't get into the weeds so early.
You can't do it.
So yeah, that was, if you didn't really know, Martin Short retelling the story of the interaction he had with the wedding cake at Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco's wedding earlier last year.
What a treat.
Yeah, what a treat. So I thought it'd be fun.
I love that. I saw that,
Did
and
you? Okay,
honestly, of all of the horrific shit I've seen on the internet this week, that one really lit me up. I liked that one a lot.
Very lighthearted. I feel like this would have been news maybe 5-6 years ago. You know what I mean? This would have been like a huge thing, but because we've been through so much nonsense in the last 6 months as a global community, this feels lighthearted and like a fun thing. And I'm delighted by that story. I thought it'd be fun to kick things off with.
It was very, very cute. It was very cute. And honestly, like, I have thought about that because of, it was weird that Selena Gomez, of all people, had a very, when did she get married? Last year. I guess
last year.
It was like a very 2025 cake, like a lot of our couples have been doing, these white, very
simple,
like sort of the size that you would have if you were having 20 people for a birthday party,
Yeah.
right? A simple heart-shaped 2-tiered cake. I think it said just married on it. I probably shot that same wedding cake like 15 times last year. So I can see how like a mega celebrity would see a cake like that and be like, no way Selena Gomez is using that as her actual wedding cake.
Where's the real cake? This is like, this is one for the table.
Where's the like
we all get to
7-tier,
enjoy.
$5,000 like, you know, cake? Anyways, very funny. And I thank you for pulling that one out. That was cute.
It's a fun clip. I was going through clips for our main story, and I saw this yesterday. I'm like, oh, this is cute. We should include this. Let's get to the main goods, what we're here to talk about today. Cole Walliser, if you don't already know, he is the big-haired, kind of looks like a young Weird Al, who runs the Glam Bot, which is at every Hollywood red carpet for everything from the Grammys, the Emmys, Oscars, I'm sure the Tonys. They all have this guy with a giant robot camera. He stands out there by the red carpet, and he has celebrities come up, and the robot camera zooms in really quick and captures at a really high frame rate to get these glamorous shots of these actors, celebrities, people of note on the red carpet to create this very slow motion kind of like dramatic, beautiful effect.
Yes.
I'm amazed it's still going,
like
to be honest.
there's some really good ones go viral.
Oh yeah.
And I think that Cole himself has gained a lot of notoriety. Like it's not just it's not like a photo booth, like it's him and his personality, because he does a lot of really good BTS.
Absolutely.
Most of the clips that I've seen that have gone really viral are him directing celebrities, right? Because people kind of want to see like the behind the scenes, behind the veil, so to speak, of like, so how does some like Joe Schmo kind of guy, obviously he's not Joe Schmo anymore, but in the earlier days of the Glam Bot, how does some guy go to Nicole Kidman and say, okay, so here's what I want you to do. Take this shirt. Does it flow? I want you to really move it dramatically, and have her not look at him like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to look stupid. Not only was he able to accomplish that with his brand, he was able to then get people walking up to him, and there's so many good videos of this happening, where celebrities will walk up to him and say, oh my God, you're the guy. Yeah. You're the guy with the video, right? Yeah. And like that's like every creator's dream is to become the person that somebody says you're the guy or you're the girl that does these things.
Like that bride who was proposed to, or that woman who was proposed to in like, it looked like Union Station somewhere. And there's candles everywhere along the stairs, and she's like, she reacted more positively and like more
to the photographer.
To the photographer, because she thought he was someone else. She was like obsessed with his work. Very funny. Yeah, it's great to feel that recognition. So, listen, recently,
and like he's just essentially like a really really exceptional photo booth guy.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, it's been a sensation.
So you may have seen the news.
So yeah, we're gonna go into the clip.
Glambot guy has gotten into it this week.
We'll go into the clip right now of what sparked all of the controversy.
Hi, my dear. Lovely to see you again. You look amazing. Right, I'm gonna start right there. Do we have an idea of a move? We're just gonna give a little look or a pose, a little turn. Perfect, great. Camera's gonna end right here. We're in a high push wrap. High push is fine, So end right here. It's gonna start at the top. 3, 2, 1, action. You go. Give us 1 second. All right, ready. And 3, 2, 1, action. Yeah, slayed it as usual. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Real quick, just a action photo.
All right, that's enough of that. So if you didn't tune into the YouTube channel where you can see all the clips we're playing for you, that is a clip pulled off of Instagram, of Cole's actual Instagram, the director of J-Lo walking up to the Glambot booths area at the red carpet from the Grammys, Emmys, Oscars. What was the Globes? Was it the Globes? Might have been the Globes.
Sure. I don't know, man. I don't know.
The way she walks up and the way she interacts with him is very like, she barely makes eye contact with him. She just kind of strolls up, knows where to stand, hears his direction, and then gives her rendition of what, or her blocking of what she's going to do to the camera when it comes in. And as soon as she's done, she just kind of walks away. There's no like real interaction between Cole and Jennifer Lopez. So this sparked a bit of controversy, and it brought up some email chains from a past inquiry of a bride who reached out to Cole in 2019 to inquire about
and I would
booking
say
for his
like,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would say the interaction between him and J-Lo probably, I didn't see it until I saw the email chain come out, right? Like I saw the email chain before I saw this interaction, because I saw that and I was like, that just looks like to me a celebrity that's tired of being yelled at on a red carpet, and she's been yelled at on a red carpet for 40 years at this point probably. She's kind of over being yelled at and told what to do, and she gets it. She has to play a part. I don't know.
Her publicist is like, we should do the Glambot thing. She's like, do you want to do the Glambot thing? She's like, sure, I guess.
I
Why
guess.
not? I did it last 10
gotta
years
get
in a row.
there.
Let's do it again.
Could she have said a quick hey and a thanks? Sure, but does she thank every paparazzi on the red carpet?
Absolutely
Probably not.
No.
Anyways, so the next thing that comes out, and people are speculating that this is like from JLo's PR team, that they're digging stuff up, who knows, are some email threads.
Yes.
And the emails are deadly. So I first saw these on another like Instagram reel or whatever.
Okay.
And it was a guy like reading through them, and I actually commented on it, being like, just to give away my opinion on it. I was like, anybody who hates this guy for this has never worked in the wedding industry.
No kidding. No joke, eh?
Because I was like, do I think he handled this well? Absolutely not.
No.
But do I entirely understand how this happened? 100%. Okay,
Bingo.
let's get into reading it.
So the email exchange was between Nika Anumashan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She is a designer, international. I couldn't find out like net worth or anything. She's very private with her life, but she's got some acclaim online.
Literal royalty, though, right?
Yeah. And her and her husband, she's Nigerian born. She's a creative entrepreneur, and she has worked as a dog clothing accessory designer. Her husband now, Nitin Sika, is also very private. He's Indian. He's an investor, and their ceremony was hosted somewhere in Texas, and it was like a combination of many ceremonies packed into one. So like, again, I tried to look up the price and the cost and what they actually paid for this thing, and there's nothing online. But we'll get into what Cole
But
quoted
I did
them.
see, again, I didn't do the research for this
Okay.
app. Timmy did.
I did a little
Thank
bit.
God, one of us said my research was just scrolling.
Okay.
But the comments that I was seeing were people saying like she was a literal Nigerian princess, or her
Okay.
family is
She has
royal.
money. Yeah.
So to give you an idea of the dollar value that this girl could have spent on her wedding, quite high.
But anyway, the internet
So this
exploded.
is the email chain between the bride and Cole.
The internet exploded, and they all talked about how JLo kind of snubbed Cole, and so Yinka came up with this email thread that she shared with the internet, and it kind of blew up from there. So let's get into it.
Yeah, so she's basically saying, "Oh, you think JLo is bad? I think Glambot guy is worse."
So who do you want to read? I can read Yinka. I can read Cole. Who do you want to be in this situation?
I will read either, but not to break the third wall too much on this podcast, Tim. I can't read it at all because it's so tiny on my screen over
Then
here.
I will read it on my screen.
Yeah,
We'll go from there.
just-
Okay.
yeah, please
Yinka
go for it.
inquiring to Cole. Hi, are you the Glambot? Are you/the Glambot available for private events such as a wedding? I'd love to have you at mine, September 20th and September 22nd. So it's a 2-day event. Please let me know your availability and rates. Thanks, Yinka. Cole responds on the same day. Hi, Yinka. Thanks for reaching out. Just so you are aware, the Glambot is a camera system and personal used by. There's so many.
The whole email is such a disaster.
It's a nightmare.
It's a camera system / personnel.
Okay.
Basically, is what he's
Used by
trying
a
to say.
network
Like
television
run by a
station
network television.
for one of the biggest red carpets of the year. It is not cheap. If you feel like something like this might be within your budget range, then I am happy to discuss further. Yinka replies, "Hi Cole, thanks. It's something in my budget range. Smiley face. Thanks." Cole's response, "Copy. I don't see how you could be, since I didn't say how much it was, and could be between $10,000 and $100,000. Cole.
No,
So
$1
there's a
million
lot going on
is
here
what
already.
he said. Between 10,000, he says between 10,000 and $1 million.
$1
is
million?
what he said.
Oh yes, it is. It is $1 million.
Just
You're
to
right.
like do a
10,000
real
and $1
gut,
million.
like
So,
a punch to the face.
Not a lot of like spell check going on here, dude. Like I know it's 2019. It was a while ago. I feel like spell
We
check
had
existed in
Grammarly
people's
then.
emails. You know what I mean?
We did have
anyway.
Grammarly then.
A bit dismissive, and the fact he doesn't have prices should tell you something as someone inquiring. Like, hey, this isn't a thing I rent out to.
He's not really set up to do this.
Anyone. Like this is primarily set up to be rented out to 5 events
ABC.
a year, basically, where he makes his nut. Where he, like anyone who wants it is
Yeah.
typically a major broadcast corporation who wants to rent this to
Yeah.
show it off. We run along. She responds, oh, that's the next one. So she responds, yeah, I just assumed it was very pricey since it's featured at the Oscars. So what are the steps to book? Would you be the person that comes, or do you just work with them for red carpets? What's the rundown? Cole responds, it's a crew of about 15 people plus network setup, rehearsals, gear drop off, camera rentals, lighting rentals, insurance permits, etc., etc., etc.
What a dick.
She responds, so where would I begin? Through you, or is there a website?
She's literally still trying, which is so funny to me. I'm like, why? She's still trying.
The teeth
this
out of
guy
this
is
man.
punching her in the face.
Yeah.
He's literally punching her in the face with every email, and she's like, so can I sign a
How
contract
do I
or
make
what?
this go? What's the story here? He
so
says,
embarrassing for him.
his response is to, what's the website? How to get this going? He says, okay, it's $300,000. I'll take a 10% deposit to secure the gear, and once I have the deposit, I can do a contract. Ready to get started? To which she responds, thanks, Cole. I'll reach out by Monday. To which he responds in the same day.
And she probably wasn't joking.
No, probably not. But he had no idea, right? He responded with,
No.
if you wanted to know how much it cost, you just needed to ask. You don't need to pretend you're going to book it. You don't need to pretend
Unreal.
you're going to book it. To me, that says he probably gets an inquiry a week about this kind of thing. He
Yes.
probably has to tell
where-
people what it is, and then they say, I'll get back to you. And then he says he never hears from them again. So he's preemptively
Yes.
responding to her her ghosting him. That's what I felt from that email exchange.
He is creating sales objections for himself based on previous experiences, right? Which we all do. It's so
Totally.
funny to
But
think
you keep
that
these
this
up
guy
here.
that
You don't
I
put
assume
those down
is
and send them.
no.
No.
You send that to your friend.
Yeah.
You message that to your friend who's a wedding planner and you say, "Can you believe these people sending me AI email inquiries?" No, you don't send that to the client, and
No.
you sure as shit don't send it to a person who is telling you she doesn't have a budget.
Yeah.
I've gotten emails like this before where people are like, "I don't have a budget," and my question is always like, "Do they mean they don't have a budget? Like the sky is the limit?"
Or like, I have no money. Please do give me
or
wedding.
you want this
Yeah.
to be for free. I'm
Yeah.
confused. It's incredible the number of assumptions that he had to make
Yeah.
in order to get to this point. He kind of shot himself in the foot, obviously, a few times.
Yeah.
And I first want to say, I do not excuse this man being an asshole. Like, he was a dick.
Yeah.
But I think that his last email made me empathize with him a little bit,
Sure.
because I just was like, man, I have been there with people just kicking tires,
Yes.
wasting your time,
Bingo.
have absolutely no business inquiring with you, you know? Like, use your head. It's used at the Oscars. Why would you think that you could have this if it's not going to be expensive? Is
Yeah.
probably what he's thinking to all the people kicking tires.
Yes.
So now finally somebody comes around that could possibly book this. And I will say I didn't see the distance between the email when she said, "I'll be in touch on Monday," and when he sent that, because
It's all the same day.
if
It's all
he
the
sent
19th.
that on.
It's all the...
Okay.
It's all the same day. It's the same day.
Okay,
It's
so
January
because
31st.
if he had sent that a week after,
Yeah.
say, the Monday has come and gone,
Yeah.
and he's feeling spicy. He's maybe had a couple margaritas at
He's at a
happy
bar,
hour, and
yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
"I'm gonna get back to this Yinka girl and tell her what's up."
He said he wants
I'm
to
not
get to zero
suggesting that's
inbox. He's like, let's get to zero inbox.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get this bitch out of my
Yeah.
life. And then send.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting
what
it's a
he
good
said.
idea, but I
No.
could maybe recognize where your frustration comes from. Like,
Kidding. No kidding.
but all this tells me is that you are not prepared for how wealthy people are. This goes back to the classic, like, I am not my ideal customer kind of
Yeah.
argument
Yeah.
in sales, right? When I was first starting out, I was 22 years old. I had no money. My car cost as much. Like, I literally paid for my car in cash what people were paying me for their wedding.
Yeah.
Like, I was driving an old Saturn, and I was not my ideal customer. So I couldn't believe that people would pay me, $3,000 for a wedding. That seemed insane to me. So I think that that's kind of that's part of this. And I'm sure part of it's an ego thing, Obviously, this guy works with celebrities every day. He's grown a little bit too big for his britches. But, like, I really think it's a sales problem. It's that he truly did not believe that there is a person out there that would spend $300,000. He also doesn't even have a rate card. He didn't ask where the wedding is. He didn't ask there were no details about the venue, about the location, because $300,000 actually is kind of stupid if you have to fly 20 people to Dubai.
Yeah.
Or, like if the cost of it in LA is $200,000, should you be saying, well, I have to ask you a few more questions before we can get into me telling you like just brass tacks on how much this costs?
No kidding.
Or is it actually just $300,000 anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he gave that number
And if it's $300,000
without
anywhere in the world, then okay.
I think that's what that number represents and was about. It was like there was no follow up. Like you said, there's no idea of where the venue is outside of 2 dates. So to give a quote based on zero information regarding travel and setup, he's just like, let's see if this is it. He was literally saying, I'll call your bluff. He's going all in. Here's $300,000 is what it is. 10% deposit. Do you want to do it or not? Basically is what he's saying. I feel like a lot of this too is interesting because he maybe isn't used to dealing with individuals at this scale.
Yeah.
He's used to PR companies. He's used to project managers, designers, people reaching out from networks who like have email chains and they're CCing people on these emails. It's like, hey, production assistant, production designer on one email, and they're emailing
more details.
Saying, hey, can you come to the NFL, like to whatever Super Bowl we're having? We're going to do a thing there. Like he's not used to individuals reaching out to inquire. So that's probably why he thought it was just like maybe a phishing
He's used to a more professional level of things.
Bingo.
But may I point out that Sweet Cole's email address is Cole's Internet Stuff.
What are you doing?
Cole's Internet Stuff. That's how this man who is trying to charge a woman $300,000 for a robot photo booth is using email. Cole's Internet Stuff. And so that means Cole's Internet Stuff is also emailing like the head of major networks, of their production companies. Like, what? This is stupid. That's okay. So to maybe make this a very full circle moment.
Please.
We have friends that are photographers that shot a wedding that was probably on the same scale as what I'm assuming Yinka's was very recently. It was also in the news where J-Lo performed.
Yes.
Do you remember this, Tim?
I do remember this.
So we had friends. I've had 2 friends, but which is really strange. Joey Wong, who's from Toronto, and Magic, who is from Poland, both got pulled in for different purposes on this wedding.
Yeah.
One of them was hired by, I think, the design company or one of the production companies, and one of them was hired by the official photographer to be on the official photography team.
Right.
And it's just very funny to me to think that if someone wanted to inquire with J-Lo's team, first of all, it probably wouldn't be the person getting married inquiring with J-Lo's team, right? Like the person getting married would tell their wedding planner or their production team or whatever, hey, I'd really like to have J-Lo, what's it gonna take?
Bingo.
And then their people are gonna talk to J-Lo's people and they're gonna have a real conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe Yinka just thought, I would just like to be a real person and I'm just going to reach out to Glambot guy because I found his email address and I can just contact him. Cole's Internet Stuff wasn't that hard to find, I guess, at the time.
And also,
so she just reached out.
She might have a parasocial relationship, or maybe she met him at some point, or there's some kind of connection there where she's like, oh, he seems like a real cool guy. He's the guy I want at my wedding. That's why she inquired. Like she asked, is it you? Who's showing up? What's the experience like? And so she thought, maybe I'll just extend a little olive branch, like connect personally as opposed to going through my wedding planning team or my PR person or whoever it might be who's planning the official thing. Like, I'll reach out. No, let me reach out and see if I can get in contact with them. And she did a bit of research because she wants to be connected to it. She wants to do some research. Good for her.
And instead of him putting together a quick PDF, instead of him putting together
writing on a Post-it note, taking a photo and sending it back, he couldn't do that.
He could have literally made a Squarespace website that is password protected that he only sends out to qualified leads. He could have said, hey, can we jump on a call once I figure out like who you are? Or he could say, hey, really interested, can you tell me more about your venue? Can you tell me your overall wedding vision and your budget? And he could have even said, just to be clear, this is a very expensive thing. Like, I want to qualify this, and that's fair. He's allowed to say, just to be clear, like, this does run into the multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars for us to execute it properly. If that sounds like something that is acceptable to you, we can move forward.
Yeah.
That's going to cut anybody out at the knees if they're just like joking around and they wanted to see just kicking tires and wanted to see how much it is. They're not going to jump on a call. They're not going to whatever. He can have a pre-qualifying process for this. This guy probably could have made millions of dollars over the last few years if he had wanted to just actually book weddings, right? But just, buddy, in the same way that she could have just say, if you want to know how much it is, just say if you don't want to make millions of dollars a year doing weddings. Just say it. Just say, I'd rather do like, you know, only the Oscars or only the Grammys. I don't know. Just say I only want to do network TV shit. And then I feel like just looking at myself in the mirror the other 11 months of the year. I don't know.
Speaking of timing, I just looked it up to see when the Oscars in 2019 took place, and it was February 24th. So this email chain was sent out March 1st. That's when this all came together. So he already had
just
a week.
Watched it.
He already had a week to chill out and like be done with the Oscars. I don't know what else he's doing at that point. He's probably not editing. I can't imagine. Maybe he's got a backlog of stuff to work on. I don't know, but like major motion picture and major awards
that shit would have been done the next day.
In March, everything's done.
Yeah, that would have been done the next day.
Yeah.
There's no way that he didn't have all of the Glambot footage done within the next 48 hours.
Bingo.
Because that would be insane. Sure, he maybe puts out BTS content and stuff like that, but I would say that goes back to my belief that he really was just feeling really high on himself.
Yeah.
He had just spent a week like getting ready with the network, running his rehearsals, as he calls it, all of the things that he was doing to prepare for this very big moment. And honestly, that's cool as hell.
Yeah.
But like, I do think, you know, while this is so far removed from our reality because we are never quoting $300,000 for
not yet,
anything.
Lindsay. You never know.
Yet.
You know?
You're so right, Tim.
Why
You're
not?
so right.
Why not?
So while this is very far removed, there are certainly things that we can learn from this. And I think that it's really quite topical and quite interesting to us as photo and video professionals. Because
I think also
this is a really common thing
common.
that newer photographers do, especially when somebody asks you for something outside of your normal realm, right?
And it goes this
so
many
somebody comes
emails
to you
deep.
and says,
Right?
yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
I would stop and be like, no matter what I'm doing that day, I have 3 emails with someone who's inquiring about a $300,000 package or product that I have. 3 emails in before I sending them like a, do you want to move forward? I would Google their name and try and figure out who they are. Now I know these are very private people, so maybe it wasn't a thing. Maybe they weren't listed anywhere and they had no idea. But the fact that she is a designer of some repute would tell me that maybe she had some kind of social media presence or some kind of website where she displays her work, and I can
Also,
kind of get an idea of who they were.
If you can't immediately find someone on the internet, that's an even bigger sign that they're wealthy as hell.
Yes.
Because if you can find someone's LinkedIn and you know that they work at Manulife, you're like, okay, you're probably not going to spend $300,000 on the Glam bot.
No.
But again, I have had some extremely wealthy clients that I would not have known who they were because their parents' last names are different from theirs or whatever, right? And like family money is very different. I feel like maybe I've talked about this on here, maybe not. I'll tell this anyways. So I used to work at a Canadian clothing company called Jacob for millennials, elder millennials, and upwards.
It's not Reitman's? It was Jacob. Okay.
No, I never worked at Reitman's.
Oh, no.
Relax. No, Jacob was cool.
Okay.
Reitman's is now cool. Reitman's was not cool at the time.
Walk me through Jacob. What's
was
Jacob
cool.
look like? You walk in, what are we looking at? What's the setup? What's the store?
Jacob, you know, so Jacob is French, I think was French Canadian owned.
Okay.
So it was hip. It was like
shit.
If Le Chateau had
Le
more
Chateau.
money.
I was going to say, is it like Le
Yeah.
Chateau?
Yeah, so like, but it was for Le Chateau for women with jobs
Okay.
instead of women going to the club.
Got it.
Or going to like prom.
Le Chateau
for
was like,
anyone who's not
Dan
Canadian,
Flashes.
this is going to be so.
Yeah. It was like
Yeah, this is gonna be
fedoras
very confusing.
And like Aqua di Gio and like, what else? It was like this very
Yeah,
like
and for
bro-y
girls,
kind of
it was
thing.
like mini tube dresses,
Yeah.
pinstripe vests, very, very form fitting,
Teal.
very, very tiny.
teal
Yeah.
vests, fedoras,
Glitter. It was stuff that you would wear to like your grade 7, 8 dance.
Bingo.
I mean, I say grade 7, 8 because that was like the time frame
Yeah.
in which I would have shopped at like Le Chateau,
Yeah.
but like probably girls wore that to a club, I would assume.
Yeah.
So I worked at Jacob, which was a women's clothing store. There was also Jacob, so it was called Jacob Boutique, and then Jacob Lingerie was like they had pajamas and undergarments and whatnot. So I worked at both of the stores in Fairview Park Mall in Kitchener. And it was my first like official, like I worked for my aunt growing up. I had a bunch of jobs when I was like 14, very chill. And then I think I was 15 years old and I started working at the mall.
Okay.
And again, to go back to biases. So I was working in a store where a cashmere sweater was like $80. And listen, in the 90s, $80 was insane for a sweater.
Like $200.
Like that's... like $250 probably now would be the same kind of pricing. They had jeans that were like $100. I loved working there because in order to work at the store, you had to always be wearing Jacob clothes. So it was like a really good excuse for me to blow all of my money that I made there on
clothing.
Discount? It was 50%, so it wasn't enough. It should have been way more.
Yeah,
it should have been way more, honestly. No, especially because I think I was making $9 an hour.
Yeah, minimum wage in that, was like $9. Yeah, I think I started at $6.
Yeah, so I would literally work an entire day to buy a pair of jeans for me to wear to work the next day.
Great.
Like, so stupid.
So stupid.
But I was 15. What the hell? And I looked great. I had really good jeans. And my cousin that like, she worked at a big bank downtown Toronto, I would like buy her stuff because it was clothing intended for women like her, you know, like power suits and trench coats and again, really great cashmere.
You the same size or they just didn't care at that point?
We're roughly the same size,
okay,
but like she's probably even littler than me, honestly. She's tiny.
Okay.
But the funniest thing that happened, so I was when you start out in a retail space, they typically put the new people in the front two zones. So you know when you walk into a retail chain, you walk in the front and there's somebody there like folding stuff and they just say, "Hi there, how are you?" Right? And they're supposed to greet you right away. Yes, can I help you find anything, or what are we looking for, or whatever, right? Because they're trying to throw you in by fire so that they can see how quickly you can engage with people, but the person closing the sale is going to be in the fitting room.
Right.
So the people in the front are friendly, bubbly, whatever. I had this woman come in and she looked like nothing special to 15-year-old Lindsay. She had her hair kind of messy. Like I specifically remember that she just looked like not the typical Jacob customer.
Right.
And I think I said hi to her and I didn't bother with this like strategic sales spiel that I was supposed to give.
Yeah.
My manager comes over and she's like, "Why did you just say hi to her and then turn around?" I was like, "I don't know. I didn't see it as being a thing she was going to buy."
Yeah.
She was like, "Okay, what if I told you that woman is our top customer and she spends thousands of dollars a week in here? She's a lawyer and you just snubbed one of our top customers." And I was like, "Oh shit." So then this is a learning moment. The manager brings me over, introduces me to this woman, and the woman didn't like complain or anything. She wasn't mad that I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
she was like, "I'm in the store all the time."
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like she's literally like the I don't know, secrets of a shopaholic. This woman is an actual shopaholic.
She looked
like,
at you
truly.
the same way you looked at her and was like, "Oh, they hired a 15-year-old. That's cool."
Insignificant.
Like, don't care.
She looked at me like I was insignificant.
Yeah.
But she ended up being so kind. So the manager introduces me to her and said, "This is Lindsay. She's an idiot."
She's our local idiot. She's new.
This is Lindsay. She's new. Anything that you want, let her know.
Yeah.
So she's, I was thinking of getting a new trench coat. I think that was one of the things, a pair of jeans.
Okay.
One of the things I've always loved to do is hype women up. So I also read a lot of magazines at the time. So I was like, okay, well, this is going to look phenomenal on you. And I just start pulling things and we go through the whole store and go through to the fitting room where the closer comes in and actually gets stuff for her or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And this woman and I then build a rapport for the next year or whatever that I ended up working there. It would have never happened if that manager hadn't coached me. That manager then went on to be like the, I think, regional manager for Hudson Bay Company. Rest in peace.
I thought you say Cole Wallace. I thought we were going to close the whole loop there. I was excited.
Could you imagine? That would be for Jennifer Lopez. That manager taught me such a valuable lesson that day, though, because she was like, "Lindsay, some of the people that come in here, the flashiest, looking like they're our ideal couple, they have, or our ideal client, they have no money.
Yeah.
The people that come in here, like, you know, fancy bags, looking really cute, people that dress up to go to the mall, generally speaking, don't have money to spend at the mall. And I have learned this now as an adult woman. I go into Aritzia looking like someone should hose me down.
Someone wiped their shoe at the front door, and you emerge from the gum and the gunk, and you're like, "Hey, what's up?"
Literally. And sometimes these Aritzia girls will just not give me a second glance, which is my preference. Truthfully,
God.
that
If
is
they could leave us
absolutely my
alone.
preference. I'm like, please leave. I'd like to shop in peace.
I don't
I'll
shop
tell
at
you when I need
Aritzia
something.
often. I'm only in there with Kel because she likes to go and buy things there.
Yes.
But she's forewarned me before we went in, like, no one here is nice. I'm like, what do you mean?
No, they're not
all
nice.
17,
They're mean.
and they all hate everyone who's not their friend, which is you. I'm like, wow.
And it's funny because it's not like the Christian Louboutin or Louis Vuitton or Gucci. It's not the
Rolex,
effect that they're trying to give off, where they are kind of bullies because they want you to prove that you can be in there.
Bingo.
That's not Aritzia's vibe. Aritzia's is just mean to you.
Just mean.
Their vibe is just mean.
Yeah.
And I do think they've gotten better. The only 2 times that I've ever dropped more than $1,000 in a shopping experience at Aritzia was when I looked really grubby. Like
you did the clothes.
Yeah, like, but I once went in and I said, hey, listen, I'm not loving anything I'm wearing while I'm working right now. I'm a photographer. Here's what I need. Let's just find some stuff. And it was, 11 o'clock in the morning, probably a good time to shop or whatever.
Oh, brilliant.
But this girl paid such good attention to me. And Aritzia, they do give you like a personal phone number you can text your concierge at.
Get
so
out.
if you have questions or you need anything in the future.
Come a long way.
And so now I just only speak to that girl. But hilarious, because that girl probably is one of the only people that speaks to adult women with credit cards that have more than a $200 limit on it, And the other girls that are just interested in speaking to the other 19-year-old or 21-year-old girls that look like them, they're not filling their quotas, let me tell you. So very roundabout way of saying, what the hell are we as photographers doing in A, pre-qualifying people that haven't qualified themselves, and B, not discussing pricing in a very upfront manner and saying, hey, is this something that you reasonably can afford and would you like to buy it? And once they say yes, you just fucking sell it to them.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that hard.
It's not that
just
difficult.
sell it to them.
In his defense, in Cole's defense, he probably doesn't do a lot of weddings. I can't imagine that this Glam bot is rented out for a lot of
surely
people.
doesn't now.
Surely not now. No, especially not now. But I feel like even if you are not doing weddings per se, you're in people's line of sight at every award ceremony. You are literally talking to the glitz and glamour of the Hollywood elite. Every year, you do 4 or 5 of these events, and you get to talk to Ben Affleck or
These are your opportunity. Yeah.
This is your opportunity. You are well known in this realm of people who have the money to spend on these things, and people get like she mentioned in the email, like Yinka said, that I figured it was a lot of money. It's at the Oscars, so I fully understand.
I'm very familiar
that this makes sense. It's not a $5,000 booth. I get that. I can't imagine it would be. You as a photographer, Lindsay, do you come across a lot of opportunities that are outside of the wedding family portrait space with offers and inquiries for, like, let's say someone wanted to, perfect example here. This isn't a photography forward content that we're creating. It's about photography. It's a podcast. What if someone came to you and says, hey, Lindsay, love the podcast. See that you do it every week. How do I get my own? What are the next steps? What is your response?
Right. Can I buy a podcast from you? Can you help me produce it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to a couple of things. One, you have to decide, do I actually want to do this, right? Because I think part of what Cole's response and where he went wrong was he didn't even question if he wanted to do this or not. Like, he just immediately went into defensiveness, right? And I have definitely had people reach out for things that were outside of the realm of what I offered. I mean, at one point I only offered weddings, right? And it wasn't until people kept asking, will you do families, that I started doing families. And then more people started asking about branding and headshots. So I started doing branding and headshots. And the first of anything is the most annoying one, right? The first time that you build something and you build an offering out, it requires a lot of work, right? It requires a lot of effort for us to do some research. Well, how much would that cost? How much time would it take for me to do it? What would it take away from my current offerings in order to be able to execute on that? And if somebody said to me, hey, will you create me a podcast? I would just know that I am not the person to do that. First of all, I don't produce anything on this podcast.
That's not
but
true.
Okay,
that's totally
pretend
not
that
true.
Pretend that I did. Pretend that I was like the wheels of this operation. Okay.
Sure.
If someone came to me and said, I want to purchase a podcast, my first call would have to be to you, Tim. And I would say, okay, well, our media company together will have to create this for you. Yeah. This is going to be a bigger conversation. So then you and I have to discuss, what questions do we need to ask them? What's the regularity of your podcast? How much experience do you personally have in podcasting? Is the content interesting to us? Are you going to be motivated to market it yourself? Are you going to be even good on a camera or on a microphone? I mean, you and I are barely there half the days, so I don't want to listen to somebody else do this badly.
Fair.
But I think, there's so many questions involved in it. And while some people's personalities, their immediate response would be to say, yes, I can do that. Let me figure out a price.
Yeah.
Some other people's response would be, that's scary. I don't think I have time for that. I don't want to do it, whatever. I think that there's a marrying of both of those things whenever anybody reaches out to me and asks me to do something outside of what I'm typically doing, right?
For sure.
And I will say, I understand his frustration in a big way on that one, because if you're stressed and you're already tired with your own business, and then somebody comes at you with a request that's going to require request that's outside, you're like, does it look like I offer that right now? Listen,
where do you see a wedding gown on a red carpet? You don't. Yeah.
When people say, Lindsay, can you offer video? I'm like, have you seen a video on my website? Do I look like I do? When I'm in a bad mood. And then when I'm in a good mood, I say, absolutely, my friend Tim would be happy to work with me and we can offer this as a package, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so important for us to not think so emotionally as photographers. And it's really hard because we can really just get in our own way when it comes to like regulating our emotions. It is such an emotional business. It's one of the number one reasons why I'm so grateful that I have an administrative assistant now, because when I'm in the weeds with other creative work, the work that I really want to be doing, if I get an email like this, I'm going to say, hey, Nika, can you send back some qualifying questions? Can we find out what the heck it is that this person's talking about, why they want this, how important this is to them, what's your venue, what's your budget look like, and then have your administrative assistant go off and do a little bit of research and say, what are your competitors charging? Are we even competitive? Because somebody like Cole and the Glam bot, there's no competition. So the sky's the limit. Then you say, how much does this really cost? There's so many variables here, but like when it comes to us as just normal, everyday creators, me as a photographer, if somebody says to me, Lindsay, I want you to quote on this kind of a job that you've never done, I'll use our potato example, Timmy. Okay. McCain potatoes.
Oh,
because that was one of the last. That was potato.
I looked around like there's a potato.
I'm not talking about Nikons. I'm not talking about Nikons.
Never
I love Nikon. The last big weird thing you and I quoted on together was McCain. Yeah. We worked with McCain, the #1 French fry distributor in the world. Thank you very much. And whatever.
1 in 4 potatoes, 1 in 4 French fries.
Oh, 1 in 4 French fries in the world sold is McCain. Yeah. That's crazy. What a stat.
Top.
Now whenever I get a good French fry, I'm like,
probably
must
McCain.
be McCain.
Yeah.
So Tim gets this inquiry
through my wedding contact form, because my commercial website is right now offline because I haven't paid for the subscription because it gets zero traction.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm like,
because it wasn't getting anywhere, right? And you're like, I'm done with maintaining that.
Yeah. So I don't have it. So
You just wanted to maintain this main one.
Yeah, so she reached out through Pearl Venue, which is where the conference took place that Lindsay and I are talking about. She reached out through their wedding contacts because she's like, I need to find someone.
And this is their
who does
events
media.
like director.
Exactly. She's like, I went through the wedding thing, and you're the only one who responded, which is crazy.
So
Which is
bad.
crazy. Of all the
So
wedding
bad.
photographers, videographers, events people, DJs, I'm the only one who responded right away. That's nuts.
Probably because they didn't know how to quote on potatoes.
Yeah.
There were like multiple days of potatoes. What do you
Potatoes.
mean?
But the
I
fact that
mean,
she said she's from
like,
McCain, I was like, oh, that helps. You know what I mean? Like that,
You have a
that
budget.
gives me an idea. I didn't have to do any research.
Of the scope.
She presented the
She
fact that she's
wanted
of a
a-
major brand in the world. I'm like, cool, major brands probably have organization and money and an understanding
Mm-hmm.
of what a day looks like, you know? What a budget is.
And she wanted a multi-day conference coverage, photo and video. She
Yeah.
came at it with like some specific asks. It required a little bit of back and forth for you and I to say, okay, here's some more questions we need to ask, because if she wants full-scale video and full-scale photo, it's not just Tim now. Tim needs to bring a photographer in, so Tim hired me on. And then we start asking more questions. Okay, here's what we can do for our day rate, right? Like, so I think, my day rate was like 8,000 Canadian dollars for the day. So for those of you out there saying weddings are so expensive, trust me, we charge the same for commercial jobs. But we come back with our day rate. That then opens the conversation to, okay, if you came at us saying you wanted 3 days, now that you know how much that costs, maybe we'll do 2. Maybe we're doing 1.5 days or whatever, photo and then 2 days of video. I think the reason why most people didn't respond is because they literally didn't have the framework set up to know how much to charge for commercial. They didn't know which questions to ask.
Yep.
If you don't know what questions to ask someone who's doing it, probably in another market, probably not a person that also got the same inquiry
Yes,
as you.
bingo.
But like, ask a commercial photographer, hey, I got this inquiry. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Like, I get emails like that all the time of
All the
people
time.
saying, what do I do here? And if I have time, I'm happy to answer and let them know, here's what I do. There's a few different approaches when it comes to commercial. Either you can, charge a day rate, or you can charge per service. So if you want to do a photo booth, that's a standalone. If you want to do hourly coverage, that's a standalone. If
Yeah.
you want to do headshots, that's a standalone.
You wanna do a multi-day
there's so many
package,
ways to.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
right?
But you also can ask the client, because if you're dealing with an event director, you could say, what did your last team do when they did this? And
Yeah.
why didn't you go
What
with them
looks
this year?
great?
Because if you did
What's
this
successful about that?
last year, or you did this in another location, what made you go with why are you reaching out to me, right?
Yeah.
It sometimes just requires a few more
Questions.
questions and a little bit less assuming, because
Yeah.
Tim, do you know what assuming does?
I have a pretty good idea about who it makes an ass out of.
You
Me.
and me. Had to get that one in there. But that is honestly what Cole did. Cole
Yeah,
made an ass out of himself
did.
there.
And
And,
whether he
while
was-
I stand by my comment that I don't hate him for it. I
Yeah.
think that he was in a moment of weakness and he made himself look like a dumbass, and now he's made himself look like a dumbass on a global scale instead of just to the bride.
Do you think we'll see him at the next?
And also he lost out on like a few $100,000. Wow, ouch. Because
Do
I
you-
think she would have paid it.
Oh, for sure. It sounds like it was a lavish event. I think she would have absolutely
She
paid.
didn't care.
Yeah, probably would have doubled it. Be like, that's fine, let's do it. She would have been fine with that. What can we learn from this, Lindsay? If we are presupposing and suggesting the idea that maybe maybe Cole gets an email like this maybe once a week. He had been for a while
Yeah.
since the Glam box came out, of brides expecting. Also, can we touch on the fact that he said it's between $10,000 and $1 million? That's quite a delta. What are you doing? What are you doing in your
He's just
world?
being a dick.
That's a dick thing, right? That's an asshole thing to say.
But no, he was only saying it to be a dick. He said it's quite pricey, and she said it's within my budget, which
Yeah.
means my budget is insane,
is wild,
right?
Like, I assume it's
all
expensive.
all she's trying to say back is my budget's insane.
Yeah.
My budget is malleable.
Yeah.
And he comes back and says, I don't know how it could possibly be within your budget, because it could be between 10,000 and $1 million. He's now getting into a back and forth, like a girl to girl fight. I shouldn't even say girl to girl. It's insulting to girls. You're just getting into this weird little fight
Yeah.
with a potential client who has just said that she has the sky is the limit as her budget. And then she says, yes, I assumed it was expensive, you moron. That was in brackets, unseen. That was the unseen part, you moron.
Fucking idiot.
Because it's at the Oscars. Yeah, I assumed it was kind of expensive. And so then he comes back with what was a slightly more maybe realistic, but also still probably the... I feel like I've been swearing too much, so I'll say the F off rate.
Yeah.
You know, this is the rate that you give to somebody when you're like, I don't want to do this, so F off.
Yeah.
And you know what you could just do? You could just say, hey, sorry, we don't want to do weddings.
Yeah.
Instead of doing this nonsense. But he says, okay, it's 300 grand. I'll take 10% deposit to secure the date. And once I have the deposit, I can do a contract. So first of all, she said she wants 2 days. So none of... maybe there's emails missing in here, man.
No.
I don't know, because they are chopped up, but like...
I saw the scroll, so maybe it is. I don't know. Who knows?
There's a chasm of information missing here as a person who's actually going to book something, right? Because she's saying, okay, I'll get back to you on Monday, i.e., let me go speak to my fiance and see if he can make sense of your insanity.
Because it's not just her decision, it's a joint decision, we can assume.
We can assume.
So,
okay, to get off of my soapbox and to come back to reality, what we can learn from this.
What can we learn?
It requires a lot more questions, I would say. Whenever it comes to you as a photographer, content creator, whatever, as a person who creates imagery for money, and someone comes at you with an ask that feels crazy, don't make assumptions about how much money they have based on how much money you have.
Yeah.
That is your number one.
Bingo.
And like that, we should just like plaster on every single sales thing for every photographer ever.
Yeah.
Never make an assumption that your client has the same amount of money that you have.
Yep.
Just because you may have a certain amount to spend or you value things doesn't mean that they do. They might value things in a very different way.
Absolutely.
So while I am personally not in the budget for a $300,000 glam bot at my multi-day wedding, no, there's no world. There's no world in which I'm going to do that.
There's a world. It's just you have Bezos money. You have Bezos money. You have like incredible.
I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm not manifesting that. That wasn't on my vision board. No. 2026 is not the year of me getting Bezos money. Praying to God that doesn't find me. We need to stop making assumptions for our couples on when they come to you and say, hey, so say you're an elopement photographer. And you're an elopement photographer by choice, but also because no one's asked you to do a multi-day, huge ballroom wedding event yet, because you started out maybe as a portrait photographer, taking some photos of your friends. Then one of them got married. They had a pretty small budget. You did a stunning photo shoot of them in the mountains. And now someone's come to you and said, hey, I'm hosting a 3-day event and it's in a different location, but I love your work and I wanted to see what it's like.
Yeah.
So you have the choice here to put on your big person pants and say, okay, I can price this out and I can figure that out if I want to.
Yeah.
Or you can stay small and make the assumption that there's no world in which they can afford you because you already charge $4,000 for a 4-hour elopement. So what could a 3-day event possibly cost? You're going to charge them $30,000. Who would pay that? Well,
someone.
It turns out actually quite a few people.
Yeah.
Like quite a few people. The first 3-day event I ever quoted on, I thought it felt like a joke. Like it felt like a funny little joke to me.
Same.
It's like a South Asian wedding. It's a totally normal thing for them. So they're hearing, okay, well, main wedding day is this much. That's the normal package.
Yep.
And then, the other 2 days are going to be this for the Mendi ceremony. And then you've got a rehearsal dinner in here somewhere. And then now all of a sudden I'm up to $18,000 and that feels like a joke until somebody gives you the deposit and signs the contract for it. It always feels like a joke until somebody pays it.
It's wild. I did an event for the Shaw family. They do like an annual general meeting, basically, as like a family. It's a big tax write-off, which is awesome for them. And they
the Shaw family, for those of you who are also not, we're doing a lot of Canadian lore here today.
A lot of CanCon today, 33%. That's all we need.
The Shaw family is a media company. They own
were a media
Bell.
Family. they waited for the old man to die, and then they sold it to Rogers for a certain amount of money. So anyway,
nice.
All the family was there. It's like a billionaire family, basically. They have a lot of money.
Canadian Bezoses.
And they all got together and they wanted to hire a photography video team to document all of their meetings that they had, to document the kids on horseback doing axe throwing in the field. They rented out the entire
They had a
entirety
circus?
of
Didn't they have a
Langdon
circus?
Hall. They had a circus tent. Everyone like getting really drunk and messed up, and
Like a big top.
under the big top, and had like
Did you sign an NDA?
fire
'Cause
breathers.
this is good.
I did not, and also I don't think anyone who works there anymore, so it's probably not a big deal. But they were like
Valid.
a party family, like Succession. That was the level of
Fun.
everyone had an assistant. It was wild. So anyway,
So funny.
they wanted a 5-day event because they were there for was it 4 days? 4 days, and I quoted them $22,000, and I guarantee it was not enough money. I should have asked them.
It should have been 50.
I should have gone back to what did your other photographer do? Because they hire a new photographer and videographer because they host this event at different cities around the world every year.
Okay.
And so this year was in Cambridge, Ontario at Langdon Hall. And the year prior was somewhere in Tennessee. So they go everywhere, right? And I should have asked what they quoted, what the last photographer quoted, because they loved him and they thought it was great. So I left money on the table. But like you said, when I quoted that initially, I'm like, there's no way they're going to say yes. I remember I was at the mall with Kel, and I needed
When
to
they
like,
said yes?
When they said yes, like over the phone, I'm like, damn it, I should have. When they say yes, you.
But
leave
it
money on the
also
table.
feels like, but on one hand,
Yeah.
first of all, just to give you a little bit of credit, 22 grand
Yeah.
is an insane amount of money.
In 2018. 2018.
Let's be
yeah.
for real.
It's crazy.
Let's be for real.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about two kids who, you used to like work at Blockbuster and I
Dude.
used to work at Jacob.
Yeah.
I used to sell sweaters to people and I could have never hung out with. I had no business being around, and now you're like, oh, I'm selling a 22,000. It's a pretty cool thing.
But
And
I've never worked an event like that.
We could
I've never
all
done-
we could all say, shit, I should have done more, and I could have charged more, and I could have done bigger, and all these things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, let's go back to reality of. At one point, me charging $3,000 was the craziest thing I'd ever heard of,
sure.
right? And so if you're a photographer that's listening to this and you're like, wow, 22 grand definitely wasn't enough, Tim way undercharged, or you're thinking the most amount of money I've ever made from my work is $300, like same to both. We feel the same way of both of those things, I would say, at all times.
It's a value system, right? Like I didn't know how much value they put into these images. I was used to couples, like you said, I was charging like $2,500 a wedding at that point. Like I was charging nothing compared to what I am now, based on what I think it's worth and what my couples think it's worth. So I think I did a one thing wrong, not quoting high enough, and they probably were like, is this guy any good? Like, why are we going with this guy? But
Well, you must have charged enough.
Just enough.
That they didn't go with.
Definitely on the lower end of what I could have charged. The things I did right were I went to Marshall Angus, one of our friends who owns a multimedia company who does a lot of video work, a lot of live events, staging, things like that. And I said, hey, man, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. He's done a ton of corporate events. He understands what it's like to work with big companies and work with a project manager and designer. And I'm so grateful that I did, because they had a DJ fall through, and they had a lot of more requests that were last minute from the family, like having a circus tent, getting all these different multimedia
Staging
and like
or
staging
whatever.
put together. And thank God Marshall was there to be the point person, like, oh, I own a media company. We can do that. Let's do that. And I remember the project manager of that event that week being like, oh, thank God Marshall's here. Like, she sighed relief, and Marshall was able to deliver and make more money for his company. So it made me look good. It made Marshall look good. It made everyone really happy with the end product of the experience.
You speak
of
to
working
the right
with us.
people.
But
You
I
don't
didn't
know, so you
anything.
ask.
I had no idea. So I went to Marshall and I made that connection, and I brought him in to be kind of like a pinch hitter, and to bridge that knowledge gap of what I don't know about working with major companies. And that experience working with them helped you and me work with McCain in a way that was like, all right, well, we've done some of this before. You worked with another company that was Tokyo Tobacco or something? Like, what was the company? It was,
Japan Tobacco Industries.
Yeah. So you also had experience recently with that.
There's been a few big events that I'm like, I'm just going to throw a number out here, take it or leave it. The thing is that when you're happy with your business, you don't really have to be so worried about whether this job is going to make or break your life, right? So if somebody comes to you with something outside of your business, as long as your primary company is doing well and it's sustainable, then this shouldn't be the be all or end all. The one thing that it is cool if your business is not profitable yet and it's not sustainable yet is that this gives you the opportunity to try something new and to potentially have a new income source and try something different, as long as it's not something that's going to completely derail you. Like if somebody said to me while I was just starting in my portrait business, hey, can you start a podcast for me? I would say absolutely not. That's going to derail my company. But if somebody said, can you do a 2-day job on a Tuesday and Wednesday, and I had never done that before, a commercial job, I would say, well, hey, I mean, I'll give it a shot. Like, what could I possibly lose there? But when you have a sustainable business, like a wedding business or a portrait business, it's already like doing well and it's successful and it's at least pretty profitable, then something like this can only serve to help make your business a little bit more well-rounded. And personally, it's the thing that got me through COVID and 2020, 2021 is me having, we want to talk about like diverse portfolios when it comes to our investments. I have a very diverse brand. And while some people would say niche down, I'm like, should I take the potato job as well as the multi-day South Asian wedding? Absolutely.
Why not? Yeah.
And so maybe Cole, in a few years, Cole Sweetie might be kicking himself because he was the glam bot guy who was an asshole to J-Lo. Well, not, he wasn't an asshole, but he was an asshole to this one girl. And at some point, the Oscars may say, we don't really need the glam bot anymore. We've got somebody new. And now what's Cole going to do? Because he has, well, I actually don't know what Cole's internet stuff refers to. It's very possible that Cole has a broad and diverse company out there. But just for those of us who are actually running like day-to-day companies, it's just important for us to say yes to a few things as long as they don't distract from the main thing.
And assume,
that's my feeling.
Always assume, this is the one assumption you can make without making an ass of yourself and anyone else, that anytime there is a written transcript of your communication or even spoken, that it may be shared amongst people who are also looking to hire you or in the same realm. So everything you say, just be very,
100%.
very direct and positive, and don't be a dick with your words. Be a good person.
Don't be a dick.
Lesson. Don't be a dick.
It's not that hard. Don't be a dick.
Not that fucking hard.
And if you feel like your response is going to be dickish, ask chat to write it for you. Say, make this sound less dickish.
2026, baby.
Leave the M dash in if you must.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's literally
Lindsay,
fine.
We've done it. Thank you, everyone, for listening, tuning in, watching us on YouTube, giving us 5 stars, and all the things where you can rate this podcast so we can show up for you better. We love you. We'll see you next Monday.
We love you. We'll see you next Monday. This has been swell. Thanks, Timmy. Thanks, everybody out there in the internet world. You guys are the best.
Ciao, bubbies.